welcome to the 40K Fireside podcast, where we discuss everything to do with competitive Warhammer 40K with your hosts Vic Vijay and David Gaylard.
Bam. Neither Vic or I know who is going to do the introduction, so I'm going to do the introduction. Welcome back, everyone. It is a glorious balance day, where all balance in the game is restored back to equilibrium, or some kind of equilibrium, depending on what faction you're playing. Today we're going to do things a little bit differently from how we would normally do things. We are going to be just straight up doing the tier list, going straight into it, what we think are going to be the predictions on the day of release. Usually we like to take a little bit of time, simmer a little bit, collect our thoughts, but this time we're just going to go straight into it. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds perfect,
Nice.
man.
Awesome, bro. A couple of housekeeping things. If you're not a member, I noticed a couple of people that joined recently through our Discord weren't actually in other Discords. So if you're a member, and it struck me, if you're a member, if you're a 40k player and competitive, and you don't have a community that you're a part of, maybe WhatsApp groups and stuff like that, and you are looking for a community, a really constructive and positive one where we talk about list building, archetypes, and everything like that, consider joining our Phoenix Lord tier. A lot of people have a lot of great stuff there, and we're growing really fast, so that's really awesome as well. Of course, we have our membership part where I've already done my deep dive for Guard, and Vic will be doing the deep dive for Eldari probably as well, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And then the very last thing is I did a masterclass for Guard in the January 26th. That was immensely popular. And backed by popular demand, I'm doing another masterclass. It's a 4-part series called The Early Game Algorithm. And if you're a player that you feel like you come to the table, you don't know what your macro strategy is, you have decision paralysis on where you should deploy things for what you should be doing and trying to achieve during the game, I've designed a four-part series, which is a framework, which you can, almost a decision tree, which you can go through and delineate the first 30 minutes of your game plan. So turns 1 for sure, turns 2, so you can be confident when you rock up to the table what you should be doing rather than trying to find out afterwards. There we go. That's the early game algorithm. I think it's only 20 quid for just about 4 hours of content for that as well. And that's releasing on the 20th of March. There we go.
Yeah, I do think you're the person to go to for that as well, Dave. I've noticed over the years the macro strategy side of your game is extremely strong. So that's definitely something I'm going to be watching and learning from as well, because Dave is a lot better at that side of things for sure than I am. So,
I don't know about that.
Well, Dave, this is an awesome day. Balanced Dataslate down, MFM points down. We are ready to discuss everything, and there has been a lot of content which is already coming out. People, we are not content creators, so we don't get content creators per GW's thing, so we don't get early access. We can't pre-prepare this video. We get everything at the same time as you guys, and then we have to kind of analyze and put our hot takes down, really. We decided this time.
This one will be a little bit different because Vic and I haven't actually compared notes very much at all either as well. And we were talking a little bit before this, and we were sort of like, okay, let's wait till the video because then we can chat about it. So I guess you'll probably understand a little bit of Vic and I's thought process in here as well, and what we think about, like, oh, this might be good, but this army's really popular, and then how that will balance out in the long run, right?
So kind of a disclaimer is that we haven't taken a few days to really digest everything, but we've read through everything, and we're going to try and give you guys our thought processes. So I think this should be super interesting.
Awesome.
One thing which no one else has done yet is actually rank all of the factions against each other, which I think is one of the most important parts of any kind of new meta, because that's how you decide what kind of threats there are in the meta and how your individual faction is going to be able to handle what's at the top.
Yep, for sure. Now, big shout out to Goonhammer. We have taken all the images from their articles. If you want to get a comprehensive review of like all the changes, points involved, Goonhammer have a really good breakdown. I'm just going to share it if I can really quickly. I cannot. Awesome.
There you go. That's it.
Oh, it is sharing this one. Great.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yes, this is the article that they have. They've broken it down into Space Marines, Imperium, Chaos, and Xenos. So if you go into that, you can see everything. It's got the new detachments and rules, and we have very kindly taken their artwork to use for this. So big shout out to Goonhammer.
Awesome.
They've been friends of ours from the UK scene for quite a long time now. So they do a great job as well.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
We're going to
Should we just
start.
jump straight into it? We'll
Yeah, with
just go to
well,
Imperium,
I
maybe.
wanted to ask you, Dave, in
Mm,
terms of our lettering on the tiers, what are
okay.
you thinking? What's the way we should delineate this?
You know what, mate? Let's just keep it El Clasico.
Yeah.
S A B C D.
All
Okay.
right. What are we
In my
saying? S
head,
is
S is like super major. S for super major.
S for super major. Okay. Super major winning, or I don't think we should do that. I think we should use
Okay.
S for like busted.
Okay. Bust BUSTED. There we go.
Nice effort.
A for awesome.
A for awesome. So the A
C
tier
for
armies are your armies that you can take to a tournament and try and win the tournament with.
yep, exactly. C for something, but we're going to come up with that. D for dumpster. Awesome. Um, C for we've got to come up with something for C in the
C
meantime.
for just put CRA and just leave it at that.
Okay, great.
Dot dot dot.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. That's I don't hate this one. So let's jump into it. Should we just go? Do you want to go through the thing, or do you want to go through the article, Vic?
Let's start with the Imperium here, and we'll
Cool.
work down the same factions that Goonhammer have gone down. So if you guys want to open up the article and read it alongside us, we're gonna kind of try and work out exactly where we are in terms of our
Hmm.
thinking. The first faction is the Sisters of Battle,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of Sisters players are very anxious, excited about what this might give the faction, because it's been in a pretty bad position for the
Quite a long
base
time.
for at least the last 3 months. It's been pretty bad, but even before that, it was kind of getting very one-dimensional. The Codex wasn't great for us because it was actually really strong and pushed us into a playstyle that a lot of Sisters players don't find interesting.
Hmm.
Now, they've definitely pushed this in the right direction. And actually, the balancing for the Sisters is cautious.
Hmm.
I think being potentially the worst army in the game at the moment, they've been quite careful in terms of the buffs that they've given.
Mm.
Um, is it enough? That's a bit of a question mark, but we've got some interesting changes here. Now, they've been very careful not to drop the points in any of the vehicles,
Hmm.
but we've got small points drops on a couple of the infantry units here. Both of the Angels, the Seraphim and Zephyrim, go down 5 points,
Nice.
and a bigger points decrease actually on the Seraphim 10 man, which is kind of interesting.
Okay. Those are
Um,
the Seraphim and the melee ones, right?
no, the Zephyrim are the melee ones, so the
Oh.
Seraphim are the ones with the flamers here.
Oh, so they got the
Uh,
big discount. Oh,
they
okay.
got the big
Strange.
discount. I think that's probably because with Bringers of Flame still maintaining all of their nerfs here, you're
Mm.
very unlikely to run units of 10 Seraphim
I see.
personally.
Okay.
I think you're more likely to run the 5s, whereas the Zephyrim, I can see people running the 10s now.
Cool.
Repentia went down a really marginal amount. I don't think it's enough to bring Penitent Host back into action.
Hmm.
Dominions going down 10 points is nice. That takes them back, I think, to where they started
Hmm.
at 115 now.
Yep.
Sacrosanct going down -5 and -20 on the big unit is very nice.
Is these are the two? Are these the two up save guys? I forget.
They can be 2 up save, but they
Okay.
are base 3 up save.
Okay. Cool.
But these are the ones with the shields, so they've
Yep.
got the 4 up invuln. So
Cool.
the Sacrosancts also play into the Grotmus detachment nicely. But interestingly, they just play into all of the detachments pretty well. So
Yeah.
Sacrosancts, I think, will start to see a little bit of play here. Arc of Flagellants going down 10 means that all of a sudden there may be enough points drops here to make a decent kind of Hallowed Martyrs list where you go quite wide.
Yep.
We're moving back towards what the index was using, but the only difference is that Castigators were probably better in my opinion. They were better in the index and way cheaper than the 170 points that they are now, which is pretty brutal. Rules change wise, we did get a miracle dice change here, so Sisters got back their miracle dice for every unit that dies rather than just capped out at 1 per
Hmm.
phase, but they still maintain both the triumphs nerf to making the miracle dice you get for the battle round 6 automatically rather than just an extra 6, and also they got a nerf to not getting 1 miracle dice each turn, just getting
Yep.
1 per battle round, which still remains in play.
Hmm.
I mean, Gunhammer's got them as a winner here, but I don't think this is enough to really help Sisters get out of the hole that they're in. I
Mm.
think it just means that, you
Winner in
know,
air quotes here. Yeah.
yeah, you're just kind of able to do a little bit more than you were before. I
Hmm.
think this is a decent first step, but I think Sisters are
Okay.
going to need more in the long run.
So
So
what do we think of
personally,
the Krat tier?
Yeah, I think they're gonna go in the C tier for
Okay,
me,
sure.
and I think they'll probably end up in the 40s for their win rate. And I don't think they'll
Okay.
be the worst army in the game now,
Oof,
which is kind of nice. So
that's good.
big up sisters players. I'm hoping someone finds something good here. Anytime you can run 30 Arc of Flagellants, it's the start of a
Mm-hmm.
good recipe. So
Yep.
fingers
So a great
crossed.
data sheet.
What's next on the list?
Ooh, what's next? Custodes.
Oh,
Okay.
oh.
Now, these guys have had a bit of an interesting run.
Mhm.
Now, they got a Grotmist detachment, which was legitimately quite strong, right, Vic?
Mhm.
Telemans, like one or two Calades Grav tanks, maybe like a Warden block or whatever like that.
Mhm.
Very direct, very stat checky, and clearly better than any other detachment that they'd once had, right? uh,
Yeah.
which is good because their other detachments and codex were pretty poorly written. However, obviously at the World Champs they did very well on top of that as well.
With Talons, which I think, in my opinion, I personally think Talons is even better than the Grotmust detachment. If
Okay.
you read through the stratagems on Talons of the Emperor,
Yep.
they're absolutely nuts. It's so hard to get to grips with that army. So yeah, I think that was slightly underrated despite winning
hmm
the champ. So
Yep.
yeah.
So we've seen some points that, and this has obviously been against those, the previous Cropper's detachment, right? So Dread
Mhm.
up 10, Telemann up Dread 10,
Yeah.
Wardens up 10 per squad, which, okay. They have gotten a bit better in the new detachment, so that's interesting as well. So how many Dreadnoughts did they run? I think between 6 and 7, right?
I think it
So
was 3 and 2, and then the Caladius Grav tanks
sure,
on
yeah.
this.
So that's not actually a huge like nerf. I mean, that's like 40 to 60 points, which isn't terrible. Maybe you played a Blade Champ and a Warden squad, so then you're looking at 70 points there, which is I personally consider that in the lower mid range of points nerfs. Like
Mhm.
in my head, I think 140 is a lot, and like 20 is kind of negligible, and somewhere between that 40 to 60 points in the lower mid side of that.
Mhm.
But Shield Captain going down. Both all the Shield Captains and the Bike Shield Captain going
Mhm.
down. Now these guys are going to be prominent in the new detachment, and the new detachment I think is pretty good. Basically, guys, the new detachment is well, you can read it here on the article. But basically, the new detachment buffs if your squads are not within 6 inches of other squads,
Yep.
which, when you think about it, is actually quite a natural playstyle for Custodes, right? You don't want to like overcommit your entire army into one balled up castle because your opponent moves around you. So if you've got units fighting by themselves, that's really powerful. So they have +1 to wound if they are basically +1 to hit and +1 to wound if they're not
Mhm.
within 6 inches.
Yep.
Then they have some great enhancements, right? Like just get back up with full wounds. They've got like lone op and stealth on
Oh
the
yeah, powerful.
shield bike captain.
And,
So like he can just be lone opt, 2 up save, good OC on a point, and then move 12 charge. He
and
doesn't really benefit from the lance.
I
From
love
the
this, Dave. The enhancement here for the shield captain: +3 strength, +1
Mhm.
AP, +1 damage. Oh my
Oof.
god.
Oh, he slaps, man.
Nice.
So yeah, really cool. I think they're going to make a good splash. I think Custodes have always been a little bit underrated as well,
Mhm.
but I think our terrain format perhaps isn't the best for them on UKTC.
Mhm.
Particularly that Crucible map is quite challenging for them. So it'd be interesting to see what other terrain formats. I know like the Poles, for example, really still love them
Mhm.
in Teams format, and so on WTC maybe we're looking at something even better here. So yeah,
Yeah,
Custodes are a winner here for sure. I think.
how they sit in the meta though, it's
Mm.
going to be really interesting because
There's
actually
a big predator coming.
they don't really have the best defensive stratagems here.
Yep.
They've got one reactive move after your shot, but otherwise there's nothing else defensive. So
hmm
you're still leaning a little bit into my wardens are going to get shot once, and I'm hoping they survive,
hmm
so that I can punch you in the face again.
hmm
They don't really change their playstyle necessarily, which is always a little bit of a weakness for Custodes.
hmm
Um, what do you think, Dave? Your turn to pick.
I think bottom of awesome, somewhere around there.
Mhm.
And I would have previously had them like bottom of bland personally. Well, actually, no, I wouldn't have because they're Telemon detachment. I think somewhere in awesome. I think personally,
Mhm.
I think if you look, okay, there's going to be a big caveat. We're going to get to orcs eventually. I can imagine an orcalist just absolutely smoking this off the table. So yeah, we'll see about that one. But depending on where that lands, I can see them tangoing with a lot of these other armies. Like for example, if I'm playing guard. The reactor move is actually really powerful because then you can hide from other elements that are going to shoot you, for example.
Mhm.
And then the lone op by captain's annoying to get around. Um, Get back up is really annoying as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot of play
Yeah,
there actually.
there's a big question mark whether they can actually survive the lethality of the game, even with the lethality going kind of sideways at the
Yep.
moment. Um,
But
because
Wardens still kept their 4 up, feel no pain.
they do keep their four up, feel no pain, but do they have enough good matchups to justify being up there? We'll see. We can adjust it at the end.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, maybe they're top of bland, something like that.
I think there's
To be
something like that
fair,
probably.
the old detachment still very, still good, right?
Yeah,
That you could potentially well, okay, without okay, not that orcs are in the game now, but you really don't want to be playing that detachment with the upcoming army, and as I've already said twice, that's obviously going to be a huge one that we're going to get to. So maybe we should do that one, Xenos next. But why don't we
yeah,
jump on to Admech?
sure.
Admech, I believe, have one of the lowest win rates in the game,
They do. Yeah, they're in the
but
bottom five.
I don't think are realistically a bottom 5 army.
Hmm.
Their Grotmus detachment, in my head, didn't come out with a big splash door. Halo's Creed basically ended up being worse than Skitari Hunter cohort, which makes sense because you don't get any tankiness.
Hmm.
Uh, it has an awful playstyle of Taraxi. I mean, this is a really good example of an army which I feel like no one in Games Workshop has actually taken to a tournament and used a competitive list for, right?
Oh,
Because
well, you say that, but their like
okay,
main rules person or person who like digitizes everything, I think, is Johnny, who
okay,
is a
right.
phenomenal AdMech player. So
Right. Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Fair play. I didn't know that, but I know a lot of people hate transporting Taraxi, which are very good.
Mhm.
And I would have just liked to have seen a couple of other things changed around the army rather than Belisarius Core and Tigris Dominus. Like, I mean, Belisarius Core is a pretty pathetic data sheet in my head, and I know a lot of other top players that play this army think the same. So it would be nice to have some data sheet changes for him actually
Mhm.
to make him cool. Like they did the Rogel Dawn, for example, made it a centerpiece as well. So I think Admech are, I don't know, I think they're on the bit on the bland
I,
side.
I think the
Maybe
very fact that they didn't get many changes is actually quite clever because they are a
okay,
better army than their win rate shows, right?
sure,
So if you just looked at win rate, you'd probably be giving them buffs across the board,
sure, yep.
at least to the level of sisters.
Hmm.
But they've got less buffs than that. So I think this is kind of interesting and shows that they're looking beyond just the win rates, personally.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think I would rather see a bit of a diversification of what you can take, for example.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
would love that. I mean, sisters, they really should have just gone way deeper than what they did
right, yeah,
with their balance changes. But it's kind of a light touch across the board here, except for maybe
right.
Chaos Demons.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay. For me, I think they are somewhere in bland. That's
yeah,
me personally.
I think so. It's
I
a good
definitely
good
don't think
pick.
they're crap. Radio. Continuing on. Agents of
Ooh,
the Imperium.
agents.
Do you know
Okay.
anything about this faction pick?
Well, I know that they won an event,
Okay.
which immediately makes them overpowered. No, I think these guys we don't have to do it too much. There are going to be some factions that we don't really know about because they're not really playing to the competitive level we tend to play at.
But Vic, the
Uh,
Calixus assassin went down 15 points.
Okay, that's an awesome little kind of tech piece, isn't it? Because that compensates for the 3-inch deep strike going to a 6-inch deep strike on this guy. So that's a decent ally choice there. But otherwise, Agents of the Imperium are slightly forgotten here. I don't think they really put much thought into it.
Yeah.
And I think you really have to push to get something out of this army.
Hmm.
Technically, about equal with Sisters, but I think Sisters overtake them now.
Yep, for sure. I can definitely see that. So we'll put them behind sisters here.
Yeah, nice.
All right. Astra
Oh,
Militarum. Oh
there you go.
man.
You take the box, mate.
Okay, Astra Militarum. So if you were one of my clients, you would have known that I would say for at least the last month since the Codex dropped that Bridgehead will inevitably get nerfed by the, you know, triple the triple hit, the fabled Games Workshop fuck this up, nerf it twice, and then kill it for every single detachment. So before we go on, because there's a lot of positive. I'm actually really positive about Guard, but there's one thing that Games Workshop constantly do, and I think if you look back at our videos for years, whenever Games Workshop change a unit with more than one dimension across more than one dimension, they ultimately end up killing it for every other way that you could potentially play that unit. For example, Tempestus Scions went up 10 points for 10, and then the Command Squad went up 10 points for 5. Just a heads up, that unit is now 225 points for 15 guardsmen. Okay, And if you take the enhancement, it's 260 points. Like, I mean, how much can you make these guys? So Tempestus Scions actually had some fringe play in other detachments, and they were just genuinely perfectly balanced. Like combined arms actually got nerfed because you didn't get the reroll hit anymore as well. But what Games Workshop have done is actually they've nerfed Scions and the detachment, so that instead of making Scions remotely playable in other detachments, they've just completely killed them from the datasheet range. So if you're someone who's bought 45 Scions to play Bridgehead, you think, oh, I can put that into my other armies. No, you can't. They're just garbage there. In fact, they're garbage outside of Bridgehead because they don't even reroll to hit anyway. Okay, so Scion's completely dead. Bridgehead, I is this the most nerfed detachment? I mean, Slanesh is dead as well. So
They're
Slanesh and Bridgehead
equal.
are both in
Those
the
two.
dead zone. So for example, Bridgehead, instead of +1 to hit, +1 to wound is +1 to hit. So you have basically zero anti-tank capability in Bridgehead now because all your plasma and melters wound on 5s instead of wounding on 4s, which was your main way of actually your anti-tank capabilities. You no longer have Demolisher tank commanders because they got nerfed to God's End, so that you don't have a anti-tank capability there. So the detachment ability completely nerfed into the ground. They have taken, I think they did a good job here, making one of the stratagems 2 CP, but I don't know why that would be the stratagem that you could make for free when they should just have targeted the 6-inch drop, for example, because then you can't make that for free with Ursula Creed. Instead, they've chosen to use one that you could just make for free. So a little bit of a question mark there. Then, in addition, mortar teams are back up to be more costly than they were before they got the points decrease.
Mhm.
So mortar teams used to be 60, and they got dropped down to 50, and we were all like, "Oh, that's really good. We can start playing them now." You only ever played these in Bridgehead as well. No other lists really played them. In fact, I played them in a tournament; they were terrible. They're now above their original points cost for some reason. The field ordnance battery going up 10, that's fine, and the bombards, like we've said. So uh, here's what I mean. It's a bit academic, but here's what I would have done. I would have changed the ability to be reroll ones to hit only if you're visible. So then you wouldn't have to put the heavy weapon teams up, and they would still be usable in other detachments. Bearing in mind that like 9 mortars kills like 4.5 aspect warriors on average, right? So I mean, are you really gaining that much? Like, yeah, every time I played them, they've been terrible, so I've just dropped them anyway. So Bridgehead completely dead, Scion's completely dead, heavy mortars completely dead, and they weren't even that good anyway. Um, Next up, the
Oh, thank God.
the combat engineers,
Bye bye.
completely dead, and they're still the same points. So
Yep.
uh, basically, I think they made some good changes here, and they made some bad changes. 9-inch range, okay, that's fine. Requires line of sight, perfectly fine. I think those are great, valid changes. Reducing the mine to D3 mortals against normal targets and 2D3 against vehicle targets is pretty stingy. Why in God's name would you pay 90 point for a unit that on a 3 plus can deal 2d3 to a vehicle? You would never ever do that. I mean, you would maybe play these guys at like 60, I mean 65 points you would play them, but like at 70, 75 for 10, you're even then like, okay, 75 for 10 is probably okay. But yeah, engineers completely dead. So that's it. Okay, that's the negative side. The positive side, if you weren't playing Bridgehead, your lists more or less went up 0 points, which is a huge win. A lot of other armies in the game got nerfed. Slanesh Demons got nerfed, which was an auto lose matchup. So that's great. Space Marines, Bloodless Angels, GSC took points. Custodies Dreadnoughts took points. Those are all good wins. Unari didn't take that many points, but okay, sure, at least they went up some. So actually, that's a really big positive thing. So I think Hammer of the Emperor and Mechanized looking good out of here. Combined Arms takes a little bit of a hit because you would play Engineers and you would play Scions, for example. So, yeah, I mean, I think Guard are eating well out of this. Are they a top army in the game? I definitely do not think so. But they've got a huge threat to contend with, which is the point and click army that we'll get to later, which basically evaporates your army. So, yeah, I mean, impact loser if you're playing Bridgehead, I agree. But I think that the other two detachments should still be quite good here.
Mhm.
Better than quite good. In fact, I think I would definitely see them at the top of awesome range here. Personally, I
Yeah.
don't know what your thoughts on that were, Vic, either.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think like I think you can build for any matchup except for maybe the Orc matchup here.
Hmm. Yep.
And I think you can have a positive game into everything now that Legion of Excess is gone. But
Hmm.
you still have to play it really well to get that mileage out of it.
Hmm.
But I think technically you've got all the tools there, especially because there wasn't really that many points increases on the relevant stuff.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah.
got away with it. I think they're going to have another 3 months, and I think they're probably going to stay pretty balanced statistically going forward from here.
Yep. I was really surprised that Tauroxes and the Rogodon. I should just stop talking. Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
just like it got off lightly. You see,
yeah.
my thing with guard was that it should have been small nerfs but quite wide.
Okay. Yeah.
Instead, they went for the hammer, that proper hammer time into
Yeah.
into Bridgehead. But guard just need a small increase across the board, which
Hmm.
would have made it so you have to work a little harder with everything,
Okay.
but you still have viability with everything, including Bridgehead. But instead, they've really focused in on Bridgehead.
Yeah. I don't think any of the other detachments. So I think Hammer is the only detachment which has an above like 44% win rate. So
Yeah,
Hammer, I think,
yeah.
is like 49, like 50, 51, 52, or something like that. The other, I think Mechanized actually has like a 39% win rate or something like that, for example.
Mhm.
So it's a tough one when you balance across the board because then all those other detachments are bad,
Oh
obviously.
yeah, I mean
But you can't balance for every detachment, right?
exactly, and you can't use statistics for everything as well. The lower reliance on statistics is kind of nice from GW balancing at the moment,
Mhm.
because they are picking up things like this. I mean, Bridgehead, despite having some weeks where it was a really high win rate, is pretty much sitting in that 55% kind
Yep.
of in their gold zone.
Mhm. I think it had
Uh,
a 56% win rate after the
overall.
post codex, from what I looked at before this.
Yeah,
And that's
but
because,
this we have to remember the balance slate is going to have been written during a period before the Guard Codex was written, and
what?
sure before the Guard Codex was released. I mean, surely
Wow. Okay.
in order for it to be kind of published, translated, everything like that, all of these things are going to have been written with very low data, and I think the Guard Codex escapes from everything is targeted towards Bridgehead here,
Okay.
except for the Krieg engineers.
Okay.
So I think we
I mean,
have
that's
to
my read
remember
too.
that in terms of win rates,
Mhm.
because win rates are going to be from what let's say arbitrarily like 6 weeks back or something,
Sure.
4 weeks back.
Yeah,
um
it wasn't even legal back then, so yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah. Cool. Why don't we go on to Eldar? Oh no, we're gonna follow the. I
Yeah,
got
wait,
caught up on
what's the next one?
Grey Knights.
GK. Okay, so Grey Knights only get one rule change here, where one of them, in my opinion, I thought it was really powerful. I know people are saying actually it doesn't really matter, but I thought the Purgation squads firing indirectly using the detachment rule was actually kind of good.
Hmm.
But Purgation squads take another hit on their indirect fire business here by not being able to use their silencers and their high output indirect fire, which was
Hmm.
actually kind of really nice for attrition because this army struggles a little bit to trade in any kind of efficient form.
Yeah.
Um, I think Grey Knights are still okay, but they don't really change here. And if anything, I personally think they're a slight loser.
Okay.
I'm not
That
sure
seems.
why they put them as a slight winner.
I would agree. Yeah. Particularly,
Slightly
well, I mean,
cheaper.
you would think that like the indirect purgation squads would be quite good against Yanari and Eldari as well,
It's
right?
just generally good
Um,
against everything.
well,
Like if you
yeah,
focus fire, you end up killing a
even
whole
orcs,
marine squad.
yeah.
It's so good against orcs. So
Mm,
I think that Grey Knights are definitely a loser. They'll go down from where they are, and
okay.
I don't really see them being very successful here.
Mm,
I'll personally put them in the top of C tier. They're better than sisters, though.
okay, for sure. Yeah, nice. That's Grey Knights, Imperial Knights. Now we've seen these guys do pretty well, and I had the pleasure of facing them with Mechanized Guard recently.
Mhm.
Imperial Knights are actually pretty good,
Both
and
knights are good, aren't they?
yes. Okay, here is a problem that we're going to get to is that there is one army that will basically gatekeep about 40% of the armies in the game. And that is obviously orcs. So I think you auto lose into orcs 100%. That's not even a why you even come into the table, mate. But overall, I think knights have gotten a lot better. Uh, I'm gonna put them around the A tier. Personally, I think so. A couple of things. Knights get a lot better on these GW boards, and they actually get better Imperial Knights, and they actually get better on WTC boards. I think the UKTC boards are actually one of the worst formats for them,
Mhm.
particularly like Search and Destroy. Their movement tracks are really limited. So I'm just
Correct.
bearing that in mind, like if we're thinking about other terrain formats. But
Hmm.
when I played them recently, they get a lot of decent stuff, like just the Night Host with a reroll hit or wound, 6 up feel no pain. They get
Yep.
like good OC. I think stat cheeky things at the moment are really popular and doing quite well. So I think Knights, I can see them competing. They feel like custody level. They're no joke, and when you play against a good player, using their OC and leveraging stuff like that, they can be quite hard to deal with, I think.
Yeah, I played against three big knights, Imperial
Okay. Yeah.
Knights, with Yunari
Hmm.
at the last tournament, and it's pretty much impossible to kill three big knights. I didn't have enough fire dragons for that job for sure.
Yeah.
So I think they are good. They sit in this meta really, really well here.
Hmm.
People are kind of stuck between how much anti-tank and anti-infantry they should take, and people
Yep.
are bringing skews in both directions. I still think Imperial Knights are not as scary as Chaos Knights because they're a
Okay.
little bit more susceptible to being move blocked.
Sure. 100%.
And they can't advance when they walk through walls with the big knights.
Yep.
So you can really easily track their final position and move block them on
Hmm.
these big boys. And the little ones have to go through terrain as well and
Yep.
around it. So you can end up completely move blocking a section of the board in the way you can't do with Chaos Knights.
Hmm.
I personally think they sit more in the B tier for me than they do in
Okay.
the A tier.
Yeah. I'm happy with
But
that.
yeah,
I think
something like
Chaos
that.
Knights are better though, but they do
Mhm.
get Canis Rex, which is a nice big knight, which Chaos Knights don't really have a lot of access to,
Yeah, the
in
the
my
big knights are
experience.
good. Hmm.
I think it does depend on your terrain format. UKTC they lose a lot, whereas GW when you can move across those flat pieces,
Mm.
they definitely gain a lot. I think as well. So
But the big knights can move through terrain anyway, so they
yeah,
can go
but
straight through.
the best builds for Imperial Knights are not the obviously multi big knight
Yes, it's
sort of thing.
just Canis.
And what I would say is after playing on some of these GW boards, oh my god. Okay, I'm just gonna put something out there, guys. If you think UKTC boards are open, you need to come and play on them. Because I played a GW game board. I've been playing a couple of them over the last couple of weeks to try and focus and make sure I know them. If you're playing on those boards, you can shoot from deployment zone into your opponent's deployment zone. Like,
You can
like
often shoot the expansion as well, can't you?
yeah, and the
Yeah.
expansion can just be like 80% the open. So I mean, a game like that, with you go first with knights, right? It's a little bit nicer, right? So
Hmm.
yeah,
Definitely.
so I think the knights they've definitely come up a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
Um,
They've had a lot of success in America as well, especially
exactly.
recently.
Yep. Okay, so that's the
Oh,
Imperium.
that's the Imperium.
Ooh,
Okay. We
nice.
smashed that one out. Perfect.
Oh,
Xenos? Should we
you
do
want to go?
Xenos?
Yeah, let's do
Yeah.
Xenos. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, first and
Perfect.
foremost,
Okay.
here we
Eldari.
go.
All right. Eldari is very interesting because this is probably the perfect example to show when the balance slate was written here, because there's been a complete miss of Yunari on here, which means that and also they've specifically targeted Asuman with their rules changes. So that means Codex has just dropped. People have reacted quite negatively. One particular comment that I got was, if you want to get anything changed in the game, you wait for the Games Workshop Facebook post and you comment the things that you don't like on there. So if you go to that post, everyone is complaining about Asuman in there and how busted and broken he is. And bang, look at that. You get a little change here
Oh
where
my
he goes
word.
from 3+ anti-infantry to 5+ anti-infantry when he goes Super Saiyan and does his dev wounds.
I really hope
And
that is not true.
mate, not just that, but the Dire Revengers got a points increase as well. The Dire Revengers were already overcosted for what they are. So the fact that Yanari didn't get a rules change here, but Asaman did, definitely shows the timing here and what statistics they were using when they were doing this. Because
Mhm.
I think if they were to write the balanced data slate now, they would probably focus in on Yanari and make some kind of rules change.
Oh yeah,
That
no shit.
that is absolutely the biggest omission from the Eldari change. And you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Sisters getting quite like a hard points increase, but Exorcist not getting touched. And that feels like Yanari not really getting touched, but there's been some points increases in the background, which do affect other builds. Aspect Host is the other kind of more successful build with Eldari, and in this case, your big units of Dark Reapers go up 15 points. Striking Scorpions go up; they're quite good in Aspect Host for multiple units as well. Wave Serpents going up +10, and the Fire Dragons probably quite rightly go up +10 as well. I do have a discussion point on Fire Dragons, but before I get back to that, I'm going to just talk about the overall points increases for Aspect Host here. They end up getting about +90 to +100 on the points increases,
That's
which
crazy.
is a lot considering that aspect host actually, let's say Yanari didn't exist. I think if Yanari wasn't in the codex and it was only aspect host as an option, I think that would be quite a harsh change, to be honest,
Yep.
because while Aspect Host is a solid army, it's really competing in there, it really doesn't feel overpowered to justify points increases without some kind of compensatory point buffs. Because a lot of the time you're taking all of these aspect units which you're hoping do well. It gives you a good game into a lot of stuff. You win some, you lose some,
Hmm.
but you can't really use about half of the codex because a lot of it is kind of rubbish on the datasheet level
Hmm.
and overcosted. Things like war walkers, fire prisms, these things are pretty like okay to mediocre data sheets, but they're really, really expensive for what they
Hmm.
are. So I would have loved to have seen a bit of compensatory buffs to points nerfs here, rather than being overcautious and just nerfing.
So what you're
Uh,
saying is like instead of aspect hosts just being 23 units of aspect warriors, you would see other changes where it could be like 15 units or 13 units and have like a fire
mhm.
prism, war walkers and stuff like that be more viable, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you want to target the kind of strongest units, then you've got to give them access to other things that fill the roles. And this is my point about fire dragons here. I think people hate fire dragons because
I don't know why. I mean, they're good, but they're not like insane.
they do trade up quite aggressively into vehicles once they get into melter range.
Yep.
But
But you are limited though. You're limited by only having three
exactly.
of them, and the rest of your army doesn't even fulfill
Exactly.
that role. So it's like,
So you need to work hard to activate them. I know people are saying like, "Oh, it's really easy. They're so fast and all stuff." But actually, to get from terrain to terrain and also get within melter range, you do need to invest in other things to activate them
yep.
and
Just
play
look
them
at
correctly for that.
yeah. I mean, just look at the stream game that we played.
Hmm.
If you've only got three important units in your opponent's army that you have to worry about, then you can dedicate a lot of time to move blocking those and staying out of range, right?
Hmm.
So I mean, that's a huge caveat to that unit, right?
Yeah, and playing three mech armies in my last tournament, it really highlighted to me that actually the Fire Dragons are the only really good anti-tank that Eldar have. They
Hmm.
have nothing else really to deal with vehicles in any kind of efficient manner. So I think while the points cost being at 110 is probably okay, I think people need to chill out a little bit about Fire Dragons and how good they are. They
Yep.
play a very important role for Eldar that nothing else does. And in my opinion, they almost fit the aspect warrior, super fragile, hit hard, lethal unit the best out of anything because they
Hmm.
actually kill their target.
Yep.
Whereas all the other aspect warriors have to work pretty hard. Five Howling Banshees and an Autarch has to work so hard to kill five Marines in a character. I played
Yep.
against the Emperor's Children multiple times, and you cannot kill five Marines and the character using your five Howling Banshees and an Autarch, despite that being their speciality.
Hmm.
It's extremely unreliable and actually very unlikely to do that. You have to hit them with something else first.
And one of the
And that,
classic Eldari pieces, if that doesn't happen, then
mhm,
all of a sudden you just lose a unit for free,
absolutely.
which is
If
huge.
if you don't get the second wound through on the Lord Exultant in that unit, the Lord Exultant alone is picking up the entire Banshee squad and probably the character as well.
Yeah.
So I think everyone needs to chill out a little bit about nerfing Eldar really wide here.
Let me play the devil's advocate though.
Mm.
Vic, I went to a tournament and my Unari opponent was doing some fucking bullshit, mate.
Yeah,
Like gotcha
Yunari is a
me,
different discussion.
jumped on his thing, like stuff like that. Like that is clearly the problem here, right? Like
That is the problem.
there is one very distinctive point here, which is clearly the problem, right?
Yep.
And when I read these changes, I was completely shocked that this wasn't addressed. It's like as if imagine the entire dartboard and you've just got to land it on the dartboard, but somehow they hit the fucking little metal girding across the side of it and it bounces off.
Bounced.
Like you just have to fucking hit the dartboard. Just anywhere, mate, and it's fine. Just
Yeah.
lethal intent. That is the dartboard. Just anywhere on that direction is fine.
Yep.
And
I,
for
I,
me, is mind-boggling. Yeah, I think for the whole community is like,
mhm.
guys, this is the you go to a tournament and every single person is complaining about this rule.
Yep.
Even the Eldari players are like, look, okay, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a little bit far, right?
I want to play Aspect Host.
Yeah.
But now I'm stuck
Yep.
because they haven't nerfed Yanari,
Yeah.
but they've nerfed Aspect Host.
Which is crazy, right?
So that means this is the exact timeline that happened to me with Thousand Sons, with Sisters, and now it's happening with Eldar. Yanari are going to be really good for the next 3 months. Statistically, Eldar or the player base pushes that win rate up on top of having good rules. So
Yep.
we are going to be sitting in that 55 to 60% win rate
I think
over
they
the
were
next three
actually
months.
I think they were 67% with
Uh,
Yanari. When
just
I looked,
Yanari was
yes,
62.
when I looked, yeah, spot on.
Uh, so yeah, I think they're going to stay in that overpowered kind of win rate here,
Yep.
all the way next through the next 3 months. And you know what's going to happen, Dave? They're going to nerf the Yanari rule and put the points up again.
The whole codex is going to get hit by
And
it.
there'll be nothing left. There will be nothing left on here because they cannot get compensatory buffs if their win rate is that high. So this
Yeah.
is a dark timeline for all Eldar players. I think we're following the exact timeline Sisters has followed here.
Yep.
What they really need to do was only change lethal intent.
Yep.
And literally, if you want to touch anything, put 5 points on the Autarch on foot, because that is the only unit which I think is slightly, truly undercosted here.
Yep.
And then you end up with Aspect Host being really good, Yanari being absolute trash, because without lethal intent, you don't play Yanari.
Sure.
If,
Yep.
if lethal intent is a D6 move, you are
Mhm.
not touching Yanari at all.
Sure.
If you
Yep.
want to be reasonable, you make it infantry only up to their movement characteristic with no battle focus token.
Sure.
That's a thoughtful nerf.
Yep.
But now what's going to happen is we're going to get massive points increases in 3 months' time.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. I do
hmm
not think for a second that this army needed any points increases on it. And that's just obviously I've
hmm
played against Eldari a lot, and I've also played it, so I kind of understand how the way the army works. I don't
hmm
come to the table miffed about how to play against it, which is
Yep.
half the battle. But this version of Eldari felt so much more fairer than the index version of it, in my opinion. Like where
hmm
you had Phantasm, Fire, and Fade and stuff like that. Those versions actually felt to me way more unfair. Like you actually
hmm
had more mobility in more important ways. Obviously, apart from Yanari, for example.
hmm
I completely agree. The only thing that needed to change was lethal intent, and I think a beautiful change would have been that you immediately have to make the lethal intent move once your
No,
opponent has shot.
no, don't do that, Dave. That is a buff to the rule.
You think so? What?
Yes,
No,
because
no, 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 no,
it's
no,
it's
no.
a it's an automatic reactive move anywhere on the board.
No, 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 no.
Uh,
Oh, no, no. Sorry. Let me clarify. You have to
yeah,
destroy a unit, but as soon as a unit is destroyed, you can
yeah.
make a normal move, a non-transport normal move. That's the way I would have done
With
it
any unit
because
in your army, that will mess up people's shooting
no,
phases.
no, no,
Trust
no,
me.
no. Because the only important thing you have to worry about is
hmm
covering the objective that they're going to move on to. And I
hmm
like genuinely, like that's if it was like that, I'd be okay. So I need to have a multiple shooting units onto the open objective that they can move into,
hmm
and then I can focus on maybe not even killing the other units. And if they don't do it, then they're not going to use
hmm
lethal intent. That's
because
just
you
me, but
because I know, and other people have recommended this as well. But if you have a look, the WTC level players. So if you look at the French WTC guy from Pyra,
hmm
Colin from Ireland,
hmm
and myself, immediately as soon as we hear that, that would be such a toxic change to this rule because Yanari already has good primary control because of the sticky on death.
Oh, yeah, okay, sure.
But the thing that you'll gain is momentum and retaining your units in the way that you used to with Phantasm,
Yep.
which is very dangerous to do. So
Okay.
if I was going to write this slate from fresh, let's imagine these changes aren't here. I would have put 10 points onto the Fire Dragons, 5 points onto the Autarch, and no other points changes, and just change lethal intent to an infantry only thing.
Sure.
Um, and change battle focus on the +2 move and the star engines, just the +2 move to
Sure.
being only in your movement phase.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
not any time you make a normal move.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Uh,
I
and
guess despite having played against, I wasn't that oppressed by it, but that was just me personally. I think
Mhm.
it has been blown out of proportion. I think a little bit,
Yeah.
in my experience. So it's a shame that they've done this. It's a shame that they can't even identify the fact that they've nerfed like Yanari less than Aspect Host,
hmm
despite Yanari being more popular and more toxic. And you know what? You can claim, oh, there's a lead time and all that stuff, but I don't believe we live in a world where it's too difficult to just put one stick in.
Also, if they've missed Yanari, what that means is that they've done this entire slate on no data, just on
Which is
vibes
crazy,
and
right?
comments.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because with a little bit of data, it's very obvious what's needed here. So this is overly preemptive, in my opinion.
yeah.
They should have just left Eldar alone, and then they could have jumped in halfway through the cycle with a Yanari nerf if they needed to.
And actually, the guard changes aren't anything like the codexes were released at roughly the same time, if you think about it. And the guard changes don't have this horizontal aspect to it. They've just
No.
got like one vertical aspect to it. But Eldari get the horizontal change, which means obviously when that happens, it affects multiple detachments, which is it's a shame. Yeah.
It's okay.
Eldari apologist here.
Yeah, I mean, tier list wise, I think they're solidly sitting in the A tier with Yunari. I think it's a very powerful army, and I think it's still going to do very well. It's probably pretty even with Guard, to be honest. I think both those armies are really good.
I think they're definitely better than Guard, but
Statistically, they're going to be miles better. I think.
Yeah,
I think statistically, they're going to be probably the second best army in the game, or probably the first, to be honest, despite power level.
I wonder what their game into Orcs is though, because
There is no game.
Oh, there's no game? Okay.
There's no game. I think Orcs don't have a bad matchup here, but we're getting to them.
But is there no game, or is like it Guard bad? Because Guard was pretty fucking bad.
No, there's no game, Dave, because the problem is they really suffer for the melee of the Orcs as well.
Yeah,
exactly. So they get hit on both ends. You just get tabled.
You just get like they just turn 2, they just wog out, shoot a couple of things, charge you with +1 attack and strength, and like okay, great. Your useless close combat weapons table my.
And there's no real fallback and shoot in Eldar as well. So.
What Emperor's Children? I've played against it in real life, and you've played a few games.
What's Dave?
What's the?
Dave!
Oh no! I skipped.
Dave!
I got a hit. Oh, I fucked up.
Oh
damn.
No!
Okay,
we're done. All right, good stream.
I'm gonna find my browser. Okay.
Drukhari getting massive buffs with just 2 units getting -10 points.
Is Drukhari better than Admech?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
No,
they're in that area in my opinion.
This area?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's it.
That's fair.
Sorry, Drukhari players. That could have been better.
Okay, this is an interesting one.
Oh yeah, tell me.
Actually, on the 11th of February, I sent a message to Vic and said, by the way, Host of Ascension is really, really, really good. Like, and Vic was like, oh, I think I do pretty well. And I'm like, trust me, mate. I mean, really, really, really good. I just got smashed by it. Lo and behold, Innes takes it, and eventually does very, very well. This army, I think, crushes Eldar. That is a big part of the reason it's very strong. And it did get hit with some points increases. So this is actually a good reason why I guess this is part of where GW has succeeded here, because GSC have a very low win rate, of course, but the 20-man neophyte bricks are a big part of why the Host of Ascension list is very, very powerful. So you typically play like 80, so like 4-man squads here. So it's about 60 points on that list, 60 to 70 points. So immediately that's a reductive saboteur, for example. So I'm really happy to see this go up in points. Now, where does this sit in my opinion? If Innes Wilson was doing this, and that's what I'm going to put my shoes in, are they a better army than Guard? I think Innes would probably say that they are. I think Bridgehead was probably one of their, maybe, I don't know if that was good or bad. Mortars have gotten nerfed, but if you're a great pilot, and maybe I could play this at a team event, I'm going to Battle for Salvation, I'm looking at this to play for my team army. Another player is playing Guard in my team. I genuinely think this army is extremely good. And so I'm going to put it above Guard and Awesome. Do I think that will be reflected? No, I don't think that will be reflected. This is a very difficult army to play, both administratively and also like macro strategy. Well, macro strategy wise, I don't think it's too hard, but very difficult to actually play on the tabletop. So I think it's very, very strong. That's my one button I get in this episode. I think it's very strong, and I'm just.
I think so. I mean, if we're not reflecting it, let's talk about Eldar again here, Dave.
Sure.
Sorry, one last time.
Go for it.
Which is just, what does Eldar lose to on that list? Because I think Eldar still don't beat Host of Ascension.
Yes, I don't think they do either. No.
I think, if you go for a really mechanized Guard list, I'm not convinced Eldar beat that necessarily.
The Yanari list? Okay.
Even in the Yanari, I mean, you have more chance in the Aspect Host list, I think, or the previous one before the nerfs.
Okay.
Because your anti-tank is a lot better in that detachment. And then the Custodes one is where they're pretty even, and I think they still lose to Talons of the Emperor, personally.
Okay.
And then Imperial Knights, I don't think they necessarily beat Imperial Knights.
That's fair.
If you put a horde of Admech in front of them, I'm not convinced they're necessarily winning that game, mate. And then you put Grey Knights with their Purifiers, I think that's where they start winning the game. That's the point. So
I'm sure you can beat Drukhari as well. To be fair.
Yeah, I think Drukhari, you can play that game as well. So
the player's skill expression for Eldar is a lot higher than any other army basically on here, though, right?
No, it completely depends on the player skill of your opponent. I think Eldar have a
Sure.
lot of good players, but it's entirely depends on the player skill expression of your opponent. It
Okay.
determines how well you're going to do in a
So
game.
in this case, why don't we? I'm going to make a in-stream adjustment here. This is
Oh,
instead of dumpster. This is going to be depends on the player.
it's just going to be Eldar.
No, no, I'm just going to put GSC here.
Depends on the player. Nah, keep GSC up there. You know what? Put GSC ahead of Eldar.
Okay, sure.
There we
Back to
go.
dumpster.
Back to dumpster.
I don't think that'll be particularly relevant, so
Yeah.
that's just something there. Yes. Okay, on to the next one. What have we got coming up now? Leagues of Votan.
Okay.
Votan.
I,
Yeah.
I couldn't understand what the rule change is here, Dave. I
Neither,
don't
mate.
know if you've played. No, nothing.
No, mate. I'm
Uh,
just assuming they got a little bit better. But
yeah, I just assume everything has a judgment token.
but what I would say is that
Mhm.
Leagues of Votan, I believe, is an army that can beat orcs
Oh,
because they can alpha strike orcs, and Sagittars transport locking is actually not terrible into orcs, and I think Terminators with deep strike and spread shotting with blast not bad into orcs as well. So I actually think Votan are a lot better than what we think. And if you do go first, you can because like if you think about it, Sagittars can pop trucks really easily. Like that's actually kind of the ideal profile. And you're gonna have units in trucks that you can disembark against a monophase shooting army. So actually, orcs are gonna have to use their anti-tank to open these trucks, especially if you don't stand on an objective. So then you've got the second wave of like Terminators and maybe bikes or something like that that can actually have good profiles into orcs.
hmm.
Like they're going to shoot and kill your truck. They're going to get a judgment token, right? Then you can actually hit them a lot better as well. On top of that, so I actually think Votan are. I think obviously they're better than what most people
Oh,
think.
sneaky.
So I actually think Votan are. I think it depends on who you ask entirely. I don't know. What do you think? What did you think about that? Did I sell you on Votan a little bit?
You did sell me a little bit on Votan,
Okay,
but I think there's no one who's really getting success outside of Germany with them.
sure.
But theoretically, I don't disagree with you here. I
Hmm.
just want to see it accomplished, you know?
Sure, sure.
And I would say, in terms of overall competitiveness, they probably do sit near where Custodes are,
Okay,
potentially, or near where the Imperial Knights are.
okay. I was actually gonna put them on this side maybe.
Oh my
Um,
God. Okay.
I'm gonna. I feel like they're
That's,
right here.
yeah,
To be
that's a
honest.
spicy take, I
Are they as
think.
good as Guard? I don't think so. I think Hammer. Well, the Hammer would match up to it differently, right? But being good into orcs could having a game into orcs could be a big threshold here.
I think that needs to be tested.
Yeah. Okay.
That could go wrong, you know.
I'm messaging Brian right now. Brian, how
Bride will
do
tell you orcs beat everything.
new orcs do versus Tim's Votan?
He's too powerful conquering the universe, I think.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see. That's my spicy take. Okay, here we go.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Oh fuck me.
Oh,
Let's
here we go. Oh, man. Guys, okay, right. We have a problem here because this is the first thing which I think is truly broken in 10th edition. No, in kind of recent Codex 10th edition. Because
Wait,
Index we
oh
had
right,
it
since
busted
the
Eldar.
new.
Since Codex has started,
Okay.
I think this is the first thing which is truly like I thought Aquilons were busted. This is
Yeah.
way more busted than that,
Yes.
in my opinion.
Okay.
To put it into perspective for everyone, Orcs got a detachment which is Daka, and everyone loves when Orcs are really good at shooting, right? That's
Oh my
never gone
god.
wrong
Okay,
before in the
let's
past.
take a time spiral back. Okay,
Oh no,
it's
no!
like my
I was
third
playing
GT,
AOS.
my my third like my third GT, right? I'm like, oh great. This is just when orcs have gotten their book, right? Oh yeah, and they released a mech buggy detachment. Oh yeah, orc buggies. Okay, who do I play against round 3 in the undefeated bracket? None other than Manny Chima with his blood axes, fucking 18 vehicles thing, right? I've got my and here's a pro tip. I managed to submit my list late to this tournament, right? Because I was a nobody. And then I put 2 -1 damage Stratoraptors on my list. Because like, if I can play against Orc Buggies, I'm going to fuck them. Lo and behold, I get Manny Chim in round 3. We roll the dice, and he fucking goes first. Fucking blows me off the table. I'm like, fucking great, mate. Like, if I went first, I would have caked Roddy too. This is so broken. There was another funny game. Sean Naden was playing another guy. I can't remember his name.
Mhm.
This is a stream game of
Oh,
like a
this
big
one's
tournament.
stream.
And this is when people had figured out that actually, better than buggies, you just play dagger jets and
Hmm.
boom Boondaka Snaz
The
fucking
the
planes or something.
exploding ones,
The
you know,
exploding ones.
the ones which says kamikaze ones.
And you play Freeboom. Oh, then you can stack like +3 to hit on these things.
Mhm.
Oh my god, this was like the most. It wasn't the most miserable time to play. I was playing Tyranid soon after that, or Admech, or something like that. Anyway, but completely busted, like
Mhm.
completely OP shooting, the best shooting army in the game. Now we've somehow wound back the time. It's like we've gotten
Why?
we've forgotten so fast what it's like to play against orcs when they're good at shooting. Like, why are orcs the best shooting army in the game?
Why?
What makes you sit down and have breakfast in the morning and think, you know what? Maybe orcs should be the best shooting army in the game. You know what? Yeah. Why don't we take the one part that makes them bad at shooting, completely erase that, so
Mhm.
all of our baked in OP guns with volume actually are just completely tuned to max. Oh my god, sorry, I interrupted you there. But anyway, as
No, it's
but not
okay.
more
I
busted than
loved it.
Aquilons. What is your favorite part about this detachment?
I mean, you know how Tau have to work so hard. They have to be patient hunters to get their
Patient
sustained
hunter.
hits too.
Ooh.
In the last half of the game, orcs just get it all the way through, and sustained hits too is basically +2 to hit, right?
Wait, Vic, when they're guided.
Oh
Sustain 2.
god, yeah.
So if you split,
Oh
mate,
no.
or if you Overwatch, you ain't getting Sustain 2.
Hey, okay, right. So this detachment gets sustained hits too, but it doesn't work on vehicles. So you can't use it with firing decks. So there is a limitation here. Yeah.
Yes! It's like, oh, you can't Overwatch with Sustain 2. That's the saving grace. No! That's not the saving grace. It's still fucking broken as shit.
Yeah, so the units in here, the orc shooty units, have a little bit of a problem with their
Mm,
reliability, but Tactical Brigade really helped with that. And
yeah.
this is another level above Tactical Brigade when the Tactical Brigade actually got quite nerfed here.
Yeah. 100%.
So they.
Tactical Brigade took a big hit.
Mhm,
I will just do some math for you guys, in case
mhm,
you're not privy to some of the popular units in this detachment.
mhm.
Okay, they have a 1 CP strat. If you're within 18 inches of a character, your whole army gets ignore cover against that unit. Oh,
It's
great.
pretty nice.
That's by the way, miles better than Fields of Fire, which was already considered a very good stratagem at 2 CP. You don't even need
Mhm.
line of sight. Okay, that's pretty good. They've got like +1, straight up just like +1 AP. They've got like rapid fire or something like that. Oh, they've got a stratagem that lets you use your once per game ability every turn.
Yeah, it's very
Oh,
powerful.
1 CP put a unit in the WAG. So if you've got, I don't know, what works well with the WAG units? Mega Knobs. Oh, you can put Mega Knobs in the WAG permanently. Oh, great. Well, then you get bonus attacks, 5 up Feel No Pain, 5 up Invuln on top of that. Awesome. Or, better yet, there is a unit called Gretchen plus Walt. I don't know,
The character, yeah,
the
yeah.
character, whatever.
Yeah.
He gives Gretchen Scout 9. Oh, fantastic. Scout 9, and then when you but in the WAG turn, his whole unit moves 12. So you go first, you Scout 9, you put your unit in the WAG, and then you move your 20 Gretchen 12 inches. You are now 3 inches away from your opponent's deployment zone.
It's,
Fantastic.
it's
You
like a
can
140
charge.
point unit.
This is a 160 point unit, but it gets better.
Nice.
Your entire Gretchen squad has a 5 up invulnerable save. Oh, but did I forget? The Zogrod, whatever his face character, he also gives them -1 to wound. So while you're completely jailed in your deployment zone on a 3-inch charge, you also have to find out how to kill 20 models with a 5 up invuln with -1 to wound as well.
Nice.
Absolutely. I mean, that unit is bonkers.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another thing. Tank Busters. Now, you may say, oh, Tank Busters went up. Okay, well, yeah, Tank Busters went up, mate. But commonly they hit on 4s and they reroll 1s. Now, if you don't know the math, Sustain 2 with 4s rerolling 1s is roughly about a 100% hit rate. Okay, great.
Custodes.
So they're Custodes. So just exactly what really well put. They basically hit on 2s rerolling 1s, mate. So, oh, they have D3 shots, so they average 10 shots each. Oh, that's fantastic. But they also get assault. So they move like from a transport like 10, and then they can shoot through walls. Well, they can move through walls and shoot. They get +1 to hit against vehicles. They get +1 to wound against vehicles. Nice. They also get once per game +1 AP against vehicles. And +1
Nice.
strength. So they go to strength 10, -3, flat 3 at 10 shots, which always hit.
See
Which
a
on
robo
average
going.
100% hit. So I was curious on the math on this, and a unit of Sagittars with the big mech, which the big mech goes up to AP5.
Unit of Tank Busters.
That's
You
really
mean.
funny.
Unit of Sagittars
Yeah.
is interesting.
Oh yeah. A unit of tank busters with a big mech outright kills a Rogel Dawn with a 6-up Feel No Pain. Does 18.7 damage on average.
Nice.
Sick, bro. Nice. You get to take 5-up saves against the AP3. They just click 1 CP, ignore cover. You don't even get to take saves against AP5. So, whatever, mate. Here's another funny thing. Looters, for example. Looters are a 100-point unit.
Mhm.
Okay, just a heads up. Scions at the moment are 140 points for 10 toughness 3 guardsmen, right? Looters are toughness 5 and they have a 5-up invuln. But what would you think do more damage? Well, obviously looters, mate. If you're on an objective, looters have about 100%. They have like a 91% hit rate, so they get 49 saves if you're on the point. But you might be like, well, David, looters are probably like strength 4 -1/1, right? No, mate. They're 8 -1 too.
They're brutal.
And that's 8 of the guys. They, in addition, have 6 las cannon shots. Like, what? Absolutely bonkers. Oh, and by the way, if you move in on objective, they're just going to overwatch you with full rerolls. I think this unit might actually be the most point efficient unit that maybe has ever been printed in 10th edition.
Pretty hard to buy them though at the moment, eh, Dave?
Yeah, go to Games Workshop and they're all sold out. But Vic has literally already bought 30 of them.
As soon as it dropped, first thing I did was go to Troll Trader. I bought 30. Bang. Done.
I don't even know. I don't know what was going through Games Workshop mind when they thought that this was remotely even acceptable to print.
Mhm.
Like,
They're not going to nerf this mid-cycle, I don't think. I think with the 3-month cycle, we've got 3 months of this. It just depends on the adoption from the community. I mean, our video is not going to do the meta any favors here.
People, play this army. Adopt it. Buy 4 trucks, 3 units of tank busters, 3 mechs, a unit of meganobs, buy 30 looters, buy 40 Gretchen, buy another 20 Gretchen with the character. Play that army. Play it as much as possible.
Just try it once on TTS, guys, and you will see how insanely broken this army is.
Like, bro, just split everything. Like, guys, just to put it, you might be like, well, David, that's 1 unit shooting 1 tank. Okay, sure. But on turn 2, you disembark your entire army. You advance your entire army, right? And then you shoot your opponent.
Just shoot whatever you can shoot.
Yeah, and then you charge your opponent's entire
Charge
army.
whatever you can charge.
Yeah, and then you're sitting with your whole army with a 5-up invuln. Oh, not to mention the fact that trucks are still 65 points somehow. With firing deck 12. What?
Yeah, you don't get your sustained hits, at least in the firing deck, but it doesn't matter. The output is actually nuts in here. So it's an easy, straightforward army to play. Really good. You won't be able to buy looters because I bought all of them.
Get those 3D printers going.
Get the 3D printer going.
I swear to God, get on Games Workshop community posts and fucking complain about this bullshit.
Comment. Orcs are too good.
I'm fucking doing it now. Oh, Jesus.
Fantastic. It'll be fun to see how this goes.
Sure.
Yeah, let's watch the world burn for a bit. It's been a while.
Literally, like, you take Hammer of Emperor, like the guard detachment, and you put it against this. I could not think of a better counter. You've got a turn 1 thing where you can alpha jail your opponent. Turn 2, you just unleash your entire army and kill everything inside.
Yeah. The thing is, volume anti-tank like this, like something that with volume can kill vehicles, means with volume it kills everything.
Oh, Vic, yeah, you think it's good at killing vehicles? Oh, well, my friend, do you have 10 possessed? Oh, no, you don't anymore. Oh, they're just dead, mate. Oh, you've got 30 possessed? Well, probably 2 tank buster units can split and fucking annihilate all of those.
To me, it really puts Dark Reapers into perspective. I think Dark Reapers are amazing, but it really puts them in perspective.
Oh my God. I don't know what they were thinking, man. I saw another video of someone else earlier today being like, "Oh yeah, this looks really fun. Like, I think they've done a really great job here as like an orc player." And I was like, "Mate, come on, man!" Like,
there was the Reddit post, like the comments there. Oh, it'd be really interesting to see how orcs do in the meta with this. I can tell you they're going to do pretty well.
Pretty fucking well, man. Oh my God. Like, the fact that you get assault as well is just bonkers. Like, you can literally, it's like your army plays 1 turn of Warhammer and your opponent loses. You disembark.
Yes. You get assault,
shoot,
don't you?
Charge. Yeah, it's like, what?
Is it in the war turn or always?
I think it's it doesn't really matter because it literally doesn't matter because you always
you're just going turn 2, aren't you?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Where's my guard detachment from with fucking sustain 2? What? Jesus Christ. All right, rant over. Okay, in all seriousness, they did do some good changes to tactical. That detachment was very, 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 very strong as well. and the order stacking thing is removed, and they have to take battle shocks every time they even order. So I actually think those 2 changes were good. Tank busters didn't get
Bomb
changed.
squig. The bomb squig got
bomb
changed.
squigs, yeah.
Yeah, it needs line of sight. It's basically what they did
Yep.
to the Krieg engineers. They did the same kind of thing.
Yep.
But these guys just they can only do it after a normal move
Yep.
now, rather than they're advancing.
Yeah. So just I mean, you highlighted a pretty big downside on the new detachment, Vic. If you all in your opponent with advance on turn 2, you cannot use bomb squigs.
Yeah, it's a turn 3 play if there's anything left.
Ridiculous. By the way, guys, this scout move 21-inch unit is bananas good, by the way. Like, if you do not have a game plan against that, you're basically dead. And by the way, if you really want to emphasize that unit, just play an infiltrate unit yourself if you're an orc player. You win the infiltrate roll-off and you go first. 25% of the games, you will probably instantaneously win on the spot. Because the only counterplay to that is to try and block the scout move, and then they can move 12 and charge you.
2 units of commandos?
Even one unit, you just smack it right in the middle.
Yeah,
and
big
you can
unit.
Infiltrate. Yeah. I mean, you can even scout move the unit back. I mean, the unit moves 12 when you pay 1 CP to then do whatever you want with it anyway.
One second, let me just order that character on eBay.
I've always been an orc player. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm wearing green.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, beautiful. Oh, I'm gonna love the Reddit post in the comments on this one.
It makes me wonder how stuff like that gets through.
Should we name this video I've always been an orc player?
I've always been an orc player. Yeah. Oh my word.
Oh, on the thumbnail.
Orcs, I hate when orcs are good at shooting, man. I think everyone does. Busted. Busted, yeah.
It's fine. Jesus. It's fine. It's our army now.
Oof. All right. Fuck me. Necrons randomly copped a nerf on the Doomsday Arc.
Randomly? Why did it even go down in the first place? It's just back to where it started.
You think so?
That's so funny. It went down 10 points in the last.
This is a prime example of why don't they make other detachments good in Necrons and maybe buff some other units like Ophidian Destroyers or something like that.
Necrons are fine, to be fair. They're popular, they're balanced, they're doing well, they're competitive on the competitive side of things as well.
Okay.
At the tournament I'm going to this weekend, there is so many units of 20 Necron warriors. Ooh. I don't know what's going on. It's just
Awakened
Dynasty 20 Necron warriors everywhere. So
against Yanari, man, that almost auto wins you a matchup there.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I have my Wind Riders. I'm ready.
Where are we putting Bland?
Yeah,
Bland is a bit harsh, but that's fine. I can see them. They're not awesome.
Yeah, I think they're a B tier army. Actually, are they a B tier army, Dave? I think they're an A tier army here. Maybe.
It depends on how big you think S tier is, in my opinion.
I think S tier is just orcs.
Okay. Are they better than Votan?
I think if Necrons are in B tier, I think Custody should be in B tier.
Okay. Like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure. Cool.
Nice.
I'm all good with it. Because we're going to end up nothing in the D tier at this point.
No, I think very likely. I think we may be hitting one, which is in the D tier.
We can revise afterwards. Okay, Tau Empire.
Oh, Tau, yeah. Crude Rampages.
Bro, Crude Rampages are
Why did they go
good.
down? Yeah, they're the best unit in the book.
They're legitimately good. Like Rapid Ingress in charge. Yeah.
So, Dave, I'm so happy because my favorite detachment was the Borkan. I love the Borkan because they are the scientists, man.
You were thinking about playing Borkan at LGT, I think I remember once.
So I love Borkan, and they've got their experimental weaponry back in play with a +6 inches on all of their guns in that detachment, along with some really cool enhancements for weapons. Look at this, man.
Which is your favorite out of these 4?
Well, these are all classics. These are the names that were used before. I mean, fusion blades. Oh my god, are literally the coolest thing in the world. But I was a massive fan of the thermoneutronic projector. That flamer was phenomenal. The supernova launcher, I've used that as well with the AFE. And actually, I think the best one here is potentially the plasma accelerator rifle at 10 points. That is a really, really good enhancement. So I think you're going to end up taking 3 of these enhancements. Probably going to ditch the fusion blades, to be honest.
I think that's cool. I really like the way that they've done that. You know, they've just made cool guns. You know, and nothing feels better when going to the table and saying, "I'm now going to roll my neutronic projector at you.
Perfect. Yep. Exactly. And you will say the name. You
Yes.
can't just say my super flamer. It's my thermoneutronic projector.
Hold up, my friend. I haven't shot my supernova launcher.
Fantastic. This is what all Tau players want, I think. They
Yep, for
want
sure.
cool suits and commanders that do crazy stuff.
Yep.
Whether or not it makes them more competitive, I'm not sure it's a massive upgrade on the current detachments, to be honest.
You know, the enhancements for this are really good. Oh, sorry, these
The-
stratagems are really good, by the
yeah,
way.
you think so? I'm not
Yeah.
fully sure,
Well,
man.
okay. Here's this.
Go on.
D3+1 regenerate on Riptides
Sure.
and Ghost kills.
Good sustain. Yep.
I think that's good. On Ghost kills, effective, like that's a
Mhm.
really good target, right? -1 to wound on battle suits. Obviously, that's like
Mhm.
really good.
Yep.
Experimental weaponry. I guess you can reroll the number of attacks. I mean, maybe that's fine. It says in your shooting phase, so technically you could use that after you've seen the number of shots. If it's just any time in your shooting phase.
No, I think you got to do it before you shoot. Is the problem
Okay,
with this
sure.
stratagem?
What is this one?
Yeah,
plus
so
one
this
strength. Okay, plus one
plus
strength,
one
plus one
strength.
AP, and you gain hazardous. I mean,
If you go for
little bit
both
extra.
of them, you
Sure.
can just choose to go to one. It's quite good. It can be basically a +1 to wound in some cases.
Yep.
I'm really hesitant with making any weapons hazardous in Tau. It's really dodgy with any of your crisis suit units.
But on breaches is quite good because you can use it on any Tau unit. So
Oh,
yeah, there you go. And then you can get
fair enough.
a 1 CP for lethal and sustained. So if you've
Yeah.
already got hazardous, you might as well fucking double hazardous it, mate. And then you get lethal and sustained
Yeah.
hits. That's
You know
interesting.
what? Actually, I like it. The fact that any unit can be selected. I think we automatically gravitate towards the suits, but I think the breaches get a lot out of this. Plus 6 inches of range as well really helps them.
Yep.
And I think flamer suits are phenomenal in this detachment. So
Yeah, exactly right. And then 1 CP loan up.
yeah,
you
for
know?
the crisis suit unit, that's
Yeah.
okay. That's a good defensive mechanism there.
Yeah. So
And for some reason, Gunhammer have highlighted that you can't choose another target with it. So
okay,
you're
sure. Assuming that's going to be like Raptors and
yeah, that seems pretty naughty.
I mean, I think that it's going to be really interesting to see if it's better. I'm actually planning on getting Lewis back on the grind here to have a chat about the new detachment. So we might even play a real life game and then
I'd love that.
bring him on
Yeah.
to have a detachment, talk, do a deep dive and stuff like that. So there you go. That'd be awesome as well, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. What are you thinking? I mean,
Oh yes, we actually have to rank them.
yeah. I mean, it is tough because obviously we're ranking them just on that detachment. They didn't get any other changes, right? I'm just going to confirm.
I think
okay, sure. Kuroks changes.
I think in terms of power level, I think they're quite similar in my opinion to all of the B tier armies. I think they're as good as AdMech in my opinion. What do you think,
Okay.
Dave?
Ooh.
Do you think they're better
Interesting.
than that?
No, I was going to say maybe worse, actually.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think they're better than Drakari.
Oh, that's spicy.
Oh, it's tough, man.
Yeah, I think Drukhari not getting points drops on things like Scourges and stuff is pretty sad for them, to be honest.
I'm happy putting them in here.
I think that's about right.
But for me, that's a little bit dependent on whether or not the new detachment is good.
Yeah.
You know what
Okay,
I'm
that's
saying?
fair enough. I think they should be good. Looking
Cool.
at it on paper, it should be good enough for that position.
Nice. I like that. Tyranids. Okay.
Yeah.
The standard suite of Tyranid changes. Exocrine finally went up. Oh my word. Tyrannifex went up. I mean, yeah, very valid changes, but Hive Tyrant went down, which is nice because he was pretty expensive, and they didn't make a datasheet change to him, so I think that's a good change. Neurolictor went back down again, from an 80 to 90. People were already playing this, and Neurolictor's quite good. Trigon went down as well. Whatever, Trigon went down. All in all, if you're playing 3 Tyrannifexes, 2 Exocrines, your list, and a Hive Tyrant, your list is going up 30 points, whatever, right? So, all in all, pretty standard. A lot of these builds don't actually play any of these units. In fact, some of these builds only play like a Neurolictor, like Vanguard, for example. So, actually, that gained a little bit of points there. I think Tyranids are. Ooh, that's kind of a tough one, actually. I think Tyranids are. Their win rate is going to be smack bang, balanced and fair army in the game, I think.
You think so? You think okay? So how about within B tier?
Oh, are they better than Necrons?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I'm willing to put them there.
Yeah, I think it's a good spot.
There we go. Moving along, we have no other Xenos.
Oh,
so we've
Xenos
just got
done.
Chaos time.
Chaos and then
I think you should
Marines.
kick it off with something you've been playing a little bit recently, right?
Chaos. Oh yeah, because Emperor's Children isn't
Emperor's
on that
Children.
list. Okay. Now I did an Emperor's Children datasheet tier list,
Hmm.
which actually ended up being extremely similar to the Art of War one, despite me releasing mine just before and them not having had time to read mine either. So we both, me and John Lennon, we've ended up on pretty much the same kind of thing. And I think the fact that we have a similar tier list on that probably means we're playing a similar list, which means we're playing a similar style, which means that I can pretty accurately say I'm on the right track with this one. So I think Emperor's Children are a solid army.
Okay.
I think they are deceptively better in game than they are on paper if you take an optimized list.
Interesting.
And I think it looks like they're just a bunch of like 20 power armor guys, a few monsters, and they will just implode as soon as you shoot
Hmm.
at them. But I think if you get the momentum right, throw away half your army to give buffs to the other half of your army,
Hmm.
you can actually really dominate the end of the game with
Yep.
Emperor's Children.
Those units do become a lot better once you get
Yeah.
buffs on them, like
If you
twice as good.
don't get the buffs on them, and I'm mainly talking about the coterie of the conceited here because I
Yep.
think that's the strongest attachment. I think if you don't get the buffs, then the army does feel very, very flat in
Hmm.
output, and the defensive profile is low. But when you do get the buffs, you can really smash face with it. And I think people are going to get more success than they expect with Emperor's Children once they get used to it. At the
Hmm.
moment, if you look at World Eaters, you think of Anthony Vanella and all the amazing things he achieves with World Eaters because he understands the momentum needed to actually get success in games.
Yep.
Emperor's Children are the same, and I think it's going to create multiple Anthony Vanellas because it's a very exciting and fun army to
Jesus
play.
Christ, one of them is enough.
Yeah, we're going to have
Like,
loads of Anthony's everywhere. The violence is coming around because this is an extremely violent army that I think can have a game into everything in the meta without really feeling it's on the back foot because the output profiles are correct. The
yep.
amount of units, it's correct.
Hmm.
And also the longevity of the army is going to be good because I don't think any part of it is really overpowered. I think
Yep.
you're going to be able to play this for months and months.
Fair.
I think that I would be happy to play my Emperor's Children into Custodes.
Okay.
I would be happy to apply pressure into Leagues of Votan,
Hmm.
and I'd start to struggle when I was playing something like Yanari here.
Okay.
So I think I'd put them in awesome
Okay.
and just above the Leagues of Votan.
Nice. So Boris and I did play a game. We had a short bat rep as well.
Hmm.
I found the anti. I was playing the Hammer of the Emperor, so a little bit of a skew list there, which I think is probably one of the better archetypes against them. Right.
Yep.
That detachment, I think, just straight up lines up excellently against them.
Hmm.
So a little bit of skewed experience there, but they do certainly get quite powerful. And I can see if you're playing a more like mixed arm, combined arm, unit, competitive match, then yeah, you once those buffs start stacking up,
Hmm.
they do a lot of damage. So
Yeah.
yeah, if your toughness 10 seems to be a big break point for them as well, and toughness 12 as well. So if you are toughness 12, like a Rogal Dawn, for example, they basically wound on sixes, which is a really tough break point for them. But I think the
Hmm.
Blastmaster is strength 10 on the big gun, right?
Yeah, the shooting isn't going to be so good in that
Yeah.
particular situation, but I think if you sacrifice the shooting in order to buff up the melee, so this is all just about
Mm,
sacrificing the right half of your army,
there we
then
go.
you might find that the melee pushes through these tough
Mm,
targets. I bet if Boris played that game again, he would do it quite differently to how he did the first
yes,
time.
definitely. Yeah, for sure. I would probably not stand on objectives either as well.
Yeah,
I
as
did
long as
find
you
that
avoid that.
I did find that if you're not on the objective and and you're a tanky target, they
Hmm.
do need to
Yeah,
commit
they'll
quite a few
struggle.
units. That's one way to
Hmm.
get around them. But yeah, really cool to see them doing well. What are we up to next? Well, I keep going back to this tower.
Chaos
Oh,
demons.
demons.
Yeah,
All
this
right,
is a
man.
complex one. I
Very
haven't
complex.
really. I mean, I've read all of the rules because I'm quite interested in them,
Yes.
but I'm struggling to digest and work out where they sit in the meta
Okay.
here.
So I'm actually on a team for BFS with
Mhm.
Mike, who wrote this piece.
Okay.
So I actually asked Mike. I said, Mike, where did I say? I said, Mike, what are your thoughts on Demon CSM? Doing a video, I'd love to plug your insight. And Mike said, CSM and Demons both A tier can battle with anyone. So I don't agree. Okay, CSM is another topic,
Mhm.
but Demons, I'm going to take his word for it. But there are a couple of things that got some serious glow ups here. Like, okay, we've lost some, detachments here and there, right? But okay, let's think about this for a second. I mean, Slanesh completely dead. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
they
Just
quadruple nerfed.
yeah, okay, dead as Bridget. Or Deadhead, or whatever you want to call it. But regular demons for that kind of classic Bellacore Monster Mash style list got a lot better. mainly some couple of key changes here, which I think Goonhammer probably have highlighted. Uh, okay, they're kind of talking about yeah, significant loser if you play Slanesh, significant winner for everyone else. Right.
Mhm.
The big boys like Scarbrand, Bloodthirster, I think Be'lakor as well, have gone
Bellicor,
from
yeah,
a
he's up
4-up
there.
invulnerable save to actually just gaining a 3-up armor save, which is massive. That basically means that you're taking a huge reduction of like anything that's AP1, bolter shots, stubbers, and everything like that. You're just gonna like shrug that off a lot easier now. So that makes the demons legitimately a lot more tanky. Scarbrand lost his fallback and fallback and shoot lock, uh, but gained just straight up advance and charge and the 3-up save, and he actually gained a bit more damage as well. So Scarbrand comes out of this really really nicely. Like things like Slaanesh parts have just got rid of and put them into legends. But I actually think that the like Beast of Nurgle, for example, gained. I know you were bringing this up earlier,
Scout,
Vic.
yeah.
Yeah, Beast of Nurgle got Scout, which is a
Hmm.
huge part of why he wasn't amazing. So well, he was actually pretty solid anyway. But
Hmm.
someone to put on your expansion objective, really solid there. The what's it called? Flesh Hounds just get to pick up and pick down,
Oh,
so good
so
for doing
good now.
secondaries as well. Uh, if you're playing the mixed, like the new detachment, Nurglings. Okay, Nurglings, they have like 4 wounds each, mate. They're 90 points for 9 of them. That's 90 points for 36 wounds at -1 to wound. That infiltrate. So
Mhm.
this is like one of the better slash best jail units in the game. Like if you're playing against Hammer of the Emperor and you win the infiltrate roll, just put them down in the middle and just move block your opponent for the whole time, right? It's 90 points, man. And do they even kill it? Maybe it's -1 to wound as well. So legitimately a very good unit now. I was a bit skeptical as to why they put the -1 to wound attached to Nurglings, but
What's the
um,
-1 to wound?
so if you're playing the new detachment, Nurgling units get -1 to wound as an inbuilt ability.
Oh.
So, for example, Zinch get -1 to hit, Khorne get advance
Oh,
and charge,
yes. Nurgle do get
Undivided
-1 to
get
wound.
the like get the Dark Pack, for example, which is just
Yeah.
basically Be'lakor.
That new detachment is so good.
Oh man, I really want
It's
to play that new
very good. Me
detachment.
too. I want to try that
Oh,
after I painted my looters.
fuck you. Maybe we should do demons versus or actually no, fuck that. I'm not doing that.
No, let's not do that.
So I'm gonna go with Mike's recommendation here. He's got a great write up. Mike is someone who's played demons and chaos for basically ages. He
Mhm.
does the warp the warp blog,
Yeah, it's
um,
so good.
which is really good. He's just a complete area specialist in that. But
He's a legend. Yeah.
I'm aware. Mike and I actually played in WCW a couple of years back, which was great fun. He was playing World Eaters. But yeah, is there anything you wanted to add to demons, Vic?
No, I want to really see what comes out here. I think there's a lot of room for a bit of creativity.
Yep.
The Nurgle demons seem really strong. They might play the mission really, really well.
Ooh, yeah.
And I really like the Be'lakor Shadow Legion. It's
Yep.
such a cool concept. And I have a feeling it's actually really strong. The buffs
Ooh,
are really good across the board on that detachment.
I've got a sweet painted Belcor as well. So,
Oh, me too, man.
oh
Everyone has
man,
Be'lakor.
Belcor's so good. So that's Stevens. I think they've done a really good job of this actually.
Hmm.
You can tell a lot of effort's gone into that, so that's awesome. Chaos Knights.
CK.
Just uh, I'm a little bit surprised they didn't put points up on these on the small knights.
I think they
Uh,
could have done with something on the Brigand and the Carnivore, to be
oh yeah,
honest. Just a
because
tiny amount.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
I think they've got to be careful, with knights. I think people are getting a lot of success with knights
mhm,
at the moment, and it's going slightly under the radar. But they are really good into a lot of the meta. And you know my thoughts on knights. The army design is so incredibly one-dimensional. I don't like it when they are good.
mhm,
I think you need to work really hard to get something out of such a one-dimensional army like knights,
yep,
not make it too easy to actually get success with it.
yep.
And CK are starting to tip into starting to be too easy to get success with at the moment.
I've got an idea. I'm going to write on the Warhammer community page on Facebook. Um,
Okay.
I would like to see a secondary point value for the big knights if you soup them into another army, and I would like that point to be cheaper than the current index than the codex points. So I would
Yeah.
like to see the bigger knights be encouraged to include in other armies,
Yeah.
and that's the way that they should be seen on the table. That's just
Yeah.
me. Because as a guard player, I'd be like, cool, I can bring like a lancer or something like that.
Mhm.
I think that's cool. But anyway, yeah, they're very tough to balance. I think Chaos Knights are. I mean, I think they're better than Emperor's Children, mate.
Yeah, I think so. I
Oh,
think I think they're up there with the Chaos Demons and the Emperor's Children, to be honest.
Yeah, it'll be difficult to see what's between the two of them, but
Mm,
versatile stat cheeky type army, good. Good luck playing against orcs, but
yeah, I mean, Chaos Knights are good into all targets. They have anti-infantry, anti-vehicle,
yep.
and high OC, so they work kind of nicely.
I'm going to be honest with you. Oh, it's tough to say. I would like to see Chaos Knights versus orcs, because they do get like 14 war dogs or something, So maybe
The,
there's
the
something there.
problem is the turn where you lose 5 of them, and then the next turn you lose 3, and
5.
then
Oh, I was
yeah.
thinking you lose like 8.
Oh yeah, I mean, if your whole army is getting shot, you are losing 8. You are,
Yeah.
but it's probably only going to be line of sight to 5.
True. Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem. Can't
Uh.
keep up with that attrition.
Okay. What's
What
up?
we
Oh.
got?
Okay.
CSM. Okay,
What are your thoughts on this? Because
so
I've got.
across the board, they've put the points up on some of the Predator variants. They didn't put Predator Destructors up in CSM.
Ooh.
So rules changed. There hasn't really changed much except for the demons getting a little bit better. I think CSM are in a good spot. I don't think they needed any changes here because they're a competitive army that is underrated statistically, in my opinion. I think the creations of Bile List is very good in the teams format and is really solid in the singles format if you decide to become a specialist with it. What do you think, Dave?
I am actually really surprised that this army didn't get points increases. Well,
Points increases.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
I actually think on a couple of units. Let me expand. Let's just say these points increases basically don't do anything, right? Sure.
yeah, same.
Uh, 30 persistent raiders is a very good list.
Hmm.
30 persistent creations of bile is a very powerful list.
Hmm.
Those are legitimately very, very good lists. I think that those are like top 5 army in the game lists, for example.
Oh,
Possessed are a problematic data sheet which have actually been known for a long time. Um, okay, you're going to auto lose into orcs, but
you've said
um,
that for everyone.
in fact, they probably overwatch a squad. But honestly, those armies are really, really powerful, man.
Mhm.
Like Alexander Saka was playing 30 raiders, 30 persistent raiders at the ITT. We've seen the questions of Bile list do really well, actually all over the tournament. I've seen a bunch of people just play Anthony's list and do really well.
Mhm.
It's won tournaments. So actually, I'm a little bit surprised that it didn't go up. I think it's going under the radar, and I think if you're a CSM player, I think you're probably pretty happy with today's changes because a lot of stuff went down, and like Bridgehead got completely nerfed, Slaanesh got completely nerfed. I take it those probably weren't great matchups per se. So losing those two, I mean, that's a winner for me, in my book.
Yeah, and it's a perfect time to join the Legion of Shadow.
Yes. Speaking
Yes.
of Legions of Shadow, oh, see, I actually think that this might be like legitimately better than Guard. If I'm
I
being
don't.
perfectly honest, you don't
I
think
think
so?
it's on par. It's there. I mean,
Okay,
we've got everything a little jumbled up in that A tier
sure,
because like different things beat different things in there.
sure.
I think being right in the middle there, alongside the Chaos Demons, is both thematic and probably correct.
Okay, sounds good. Death Guard. Okay, basically no changes. Okay,
Okay.
same things. I think what they've done is just brought all of the vehicle hulls like in line with one another, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I actually think Death Guard are. I mean, I'm saying this about a lot of armies, but I actually think Death Guard are a lot better than what they
Yeah,
seek credit for.
really
And
solid.
if you're a Death Guard player, you're probably thinking, "Oh, okay, that was good." Uh, are Death Guard better than Votan? And are Death Guard better than Custodians, Vic? Are they better than Necrons? Are
I
they
think they're next to the Tyranids, personally.
okay? Like on this side,
Yeah,
okay.
they're
I could see
bang in
them
the
being.
middle.
I could see them being here personally.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I think Necrons is the most boring thing in the world, so I'm very happy with them
Them getting
going further down.
pushed down. That's just my gut reaction. Death Guard are, the more combat orientated a meta gets, the better for Death Guard, of course. Um, obviously we're not really in that right now. So maybe we're looking at more shooting meta.
I
Perhaps.
have a feeling that they still get picked up by a lot of stuff.
Sure.
Death
Yeah.
Guard, to be honest, in a way that a lot of these other armies can interact because of their speed a little bit better.
Okay. So
Um,
let's put it behind Necrons. I can
yeah,
see
it's
that.
somewhere around there, isn't it?
Mhm. Nice. That's Death Guard. T Suns.
T Sun's got a whole lot of nothing. So
What are these changes, man?
T-Sun's just gotta let me jiggle things around, and let's see if I can tease you into trying something you shouldn't try. Because actually, if you take a Terminator brick and the Terminator sorcery, even with a points drop, it's still too expensive for you to generate enough Cabal points because everything else is too expensive. And then if you want to run big units of the chaff units, you already are running don't have enough chaff units to play the game
Yep.
because you want to have enough Cabal points. So the army is fundamentally not working unless you have a big skill advantage over your opponent.
Yes.
I think it's not a slight winner. I think it's exactly in the same spot it was before.
Yep. I could honestly even see it being a slight loser.
With what the 5 points on the Vortex Beast.
Yeah, I also just think the meta shifts kind of are not good for it as well. Like
Oh, yeah, it doesn't do well here. It doesn't do well into melee. It doesn't do well into shooting.
no.
It just doesn't do well.
The question is it better or worse than these other armies down here? Do you think it's a dumpster army?
I don't think it's a dumpster army. I think
I
it's a
think it's
crap
better than
army.
Sisters.
Yeah, it's around there. I know. I mean, I know the stat check people think that T Suns are still amazing, but seriously, guys, you can't. It's so hard
What?
to win with T Suns at equal skill level. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
If I turn up to a table and my opponent is playing T Suns, I can play with anything on there, and I'm like, beautiful. They are
Yeah.
playing the uphill game here.
Yeah. For sure.
Um,
100% agree.
mhm. But maybe that's because
Uh,
we know T Suns well. That might be the thing.
that's true. I mean, but a lot of these armies have really proactive lines that they can take, right? Like
Exactly.
Orcs, obviously, GSC, right? Like Ginari, even
hmm
Guard with him, with Emperor, CSM, Demons, like all of these armies here are advancing and charging.
hmm
And, you know, that's a tough
Oh,
proposition.
give me T Suns for 5 rounds with Yanari and see what I do to that army. Oh my god.
World Eaters.
World
Uh,
Eaters, okay. All right. So Demon Prince is down, the Lord on Juggernaut down, basically a whole lot of
basically,
nothing.
not a whole lot of anything.
Yeah.
Uh, are World Eaters a better army than Necrons and Death Guard? That's the question I have.
No.
No? Okay.
I don't
Are
think
they
they're
better
better
than
than
Tyranids?
I think they're worse than Tau.
Wow.
I don't think World Eaters are a good army personally.
Okay. We're just going to leave it there, folks.
Yeah.
Submit your complaints to vicvj at
A
gmail.com.
monophase melee on foot army. Guys, okay, World Eaters tactics here. Right? It's very simple. You do not engage them on a full board front. You don't put your army spread out across the whole board and move into them. You pick one side of the board and kill their units on that one side. You'll win every single game, trust me.
Nice. On to what? We just got Marines remaining.
Mhm.
Let's just go straight up with Ultramarines. I mean, this is going to be, I guess.
It's
Actually, Blood
interesting.
Angels has something, right? What are your takes on this one?
Yeah, okay, so there's a lot going on here because they've kind of jiggled the points around a little bit here. They put the Vindicator up, the
Okay,
Predator up, the Ballista Dread up.
cool.
Centurions no longer can get the Deep Strike from Uriel Ventress,
Sure.
so the Vanguard detachment gets nerfed a little bit here. They
Okay.
put Calgar up, but not Gilliman, I think.
Yep.
And did they change anything to do with the CP? I don't think they changed anything to do with
No.
the CP with Gilliman and Calgar. So
Yep.
that's probably in my opinion, that's one of the most busted bits of Ultramarines.
Yeah, it's really hard to track as an opponent as well. Be like,
Hmm.
wait, free strat again? Okay, wait, you're just kind of like, wait, what? What is going on here, man? Like,
um,
you just be like, yeah, sure, man, just okay.
mhm. They limited the +1 to wound so that things like Blood Angels don't get it, even if they
Sure.
don't run any Blood Angel units, which is correct.
Yep.
Quite a nice increase on Whirlwinds. I like that. The +10 points for whatever. Any indirect going up is always good.
Oath, yeah, I mean, Whirlwind's plus Oath is still really solid, right?
It's
Like
still
Gilliman
decent.
and Whirlwind is like still solid. You can shoot one thing, and then like I played against that at Manchester, and your Whirlwind can like
Mhm.
shoot the other unit or something like that, you know.
I love that they made people think about Blade Guard veterans again.
Yep,
Because Blade Guard
cool
veterans are
models.
really cool.
Yep,
And pushing people into those kinds of units and being like, okay, maybe I'll try one of these is quite a nice way to do Marines.
yep.
Have they done? What have they done here, Dave? Where do you think they've ended this up?
Okay. Well, I think this would be just this archetype, which we've already known, will be the premier Marine army,
The
right?
Ultramarine one.
Yeah, that'll just
Yeah.
be it, right?
Mhm.
So I'm actually a little bit disappointed that this is still like the archetype, and I think we've
Mm.
had a lot of data for a long time to show that this is a problematic army in terms of its strength, like it's very strong, and B, the problem parts of it being like CP management, tracking, like discounting, Ballistas, Dreadnoughts, and Vindicators and stuff like that. Particularly the combination of like double oath and +1 to wound. In addition to that, like you can still get like CP discounts and stuff, which is just like crazy. Like I would have put both of those on like a rule locked ability. Like you have to choose either one, right? So I think that was a change that really was required here. I think Ultramarines come out of this in a frankly just like a really good spot. Like this change right here, Stormlance Task Force, Wind Division. I mean, that's obviously doesn't change Ultramarines. Uriel Ventress doesn't change the Ultramarine build that you previously had.
Yeah, not the Gladius one, right?
Yeah, exactly right. So Captain Gravis Armor. I don't really know. Okay, sure, that's just a bug fix. This Phobos Liberian unit, you could like deep strike, shoot, and charge. You can no longer do that, but the very best builds didn't play that. And then Oath of Moment bonus still remains the same if you're playing that list. So really, your list goes up 10 points for Calgar, and if you're playing 2 Ballistas Dreads and 2 Dreadnoughts, your list goes up 50 points. 50 points. Oh, they play Company Heroes as well, right? So 60 points, right?
It's a pretty decent increase, to be honest.
60 points?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not. It might be
I
2
think
units of Company Heroes as well,
Okay.
so it might be 2 Vindicators.
Did you think that army was better than Bridgehead?
I thought it's pretty much on the same kind of power level here.
Right. Okay. And Bridgehead and Slaanesh got nuked into oblivion.
Yep. Yeah,
So
I think they should
pretty
maybe get a
light
little
touch.
more, but I think around the 70 to 100 point mark is enough for this kind of army, which already felt a little light on units, in my opinion.
Yeah, but Vic, but like the Marine Codex has so many side grade options, right?
Sure,
Like
that's a point I don't know the details on, to be honest. But yeah, you might be right that they might shift to other things.
right.
But it's going to be really interesting to see. I think the statistics will always hide it, but
Yep.
I agree with you. Fundamentally, they're going to be pretty much the same thing. But I always think of any points increase above 50 points significantly change the power of lists, and
Yep.
in kind of a deceptive way.
Okay, yeah. Counterpoint would be how many straight hundreds games have we seen with this army? A lot.
Well, yeah, one player who always gets straight hundreds.
Right.
He's a
Just
hero.
putting out there. Like
He's done it. Yeah, that's it.
Still really strong. I mean, I think Gilliman definitely needed some kind of change where like you don't get all his super cracked abilities on him. That would just be me because like the points changes obviously like that's a nerf for sure, but yeah, it's interesting.
I personally thought they would do less than this, actually.
Oh really? Okay.
I thought, because I mean, Ultramarines are the poster boys. I think they want Space Marines to be powerful here, and they have done more than nothing, which I genuinely thought it was going to be nothing. I thought they were going to leave them as the best army in that A tier there.
Wow.
But I think they just sit in the A tier, to be honest.
Okay, where would you put them in the A tier? That's the question.
Our A tier is a
pretty big
mess, mate. It could be anywhere.
Really? What?
I think they're better than Votan. They're better than Emperor's Children. They're definitely better than Chaos Knights.
Wow.
I think
that far down. Holy.
I think that they're. I think let's put them at the top of A tier.
Okay, good. I mean, that's where I was going with this. Like straight.
Did I pass the test?
Oh my word, dude!
Yeah,
you were talking down here.
Test?
I was like, dude, what the hell, man? I think really good, man. I mean, Gladius, like, there's no changes to Gladius in this as well. No changes to Stormlance. No changes to Storm Raven, for example, right? Those lists have done really well. John Lennon won the super major or something like that with the Storm Raven build. Doesn't really look like that got changed.
But if we're just thinking Ultramarines Gladius, I think that's a good spot to put them.
Okay, right, yeah. Second best army in the game, sure. Okay. Black Templars.
No, Black Templars unfortunately in a pretty bad spot here, but this was the army I was thinking, are they the dumpster tier?
But can you play Blacklist Templars anymore or not?
You can't play Blacklist Templars.
I think if you played spammed as many assault intercessors as possible, and heavy intercessors, you could be better than Imperial.
I think you could just play Black Templars Ironstorm still and still do okay. Probably around that level of everything else.
Around here? I mean, yeah, sure. We could put like these in here, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Sure. We don't want to only have like 3 tiers.
Yeah, Sisters of... I think they've managed to escape the dumpster tier, but they're probably right on the edge of falling into it.
Here's an interesting one.
Yeah.
This army got off very lightly. For a couple of reasons. Bridgehead completely nuked. Slaanesh completely nuked as well. And those were 2 things that were actually good against this army. Now, I know Jack Harpster is big on the like Liberator detachment, right?
Mhm.
And that did not use or take advantage of double oath, +1 to wound, or whatever like that in any regard possible, right? So if I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, didn't this just get like straight buffed?
Mhm.
And Jack already thought that was very powerful, right?
Mhm.
So this seems pretty
Interesting.
good, man. Like,
I think it's personally, I don't think it's an A tier army, but I think it does move out of the C into the B tier. Oh,
really? Oh
yeah.
my word!
I don't think it's an A tier
Wow.
army. Blood Angels
Holy dude.
now.
Wow. Okay. Um.
That is a
Okay.
expensive
For the record,
one dimension.
I was gonna put it like right here, just for the
No
record.
way.
You can put it where you want, Vic. I've had more than my fair share. Where do
Mate,
you want it?
I'm gonna put them between Imperial Knights and Tyranids.
Okay. Let it be known right now. I
Dave
have
has them
checked.
exactly one tier, a +10 to the ranking that I've put them in.
Dark Angels. I mean, they. I don't think Dark Angels are better than Imperial Knights, mate.
Dark Angels have a very bad win rate. I think they're in the bottom 5 as well.
Yeah.
But I think they're better than that win rate.
Are they better than Admech? That's tough.
I think they're worse than Tau.
Okay, worse than Tau. I'm happy. I'm not
Better
gonna
than
argue.
World Eaters, something like that. We don't know enough, but
Yeah, fair
that's
dues.
where we're going. Deathwatch, you know something about Deathwatch.
Apparently, Deathwatch are completely broken. No,
Hmm.
apparently, I mean, in America, they've done very, very well.
Hmm.
Vic, you can attest. I sent you a message a while back, and I said, "Look, if you're looking for something new to play, I think Deathwatch could be very, very good."
Hmm.
I think there's definitely something. I'm just going to put them as a complete unknown. To be honest with you, I think they're probably pretty terrain dependent and pretty matchup dependent. It's definitely an army that I could see doing well if your opponent's never played against them.
So, can Deathwatch beat Orcs
No
as the
chance.
Xenos hunters that they are?
No chance at all, mate.
That's a
You
shame.
will die in Overwatch, I think. Genuinely.
That's a shame.
As soon as you get more than 5 models for Blast,
Hmm.
tank bosses will Overwatch you and you will die.
What a shame.
So, honestly, just complete unknown for me.
Yeah, go on. You do it, Dave.
If we're only talking America, I think I could see them like being here.
Yeah, but based on our if you were going to take it to a tournament, what are you thinking you would take ahead of it?
Yeah, I would definitely take that. Demons, maybe not. Yeah, right here. I think that's fair.
Okay,
Actually, I think they're pretty good. I think they're pretty
nice.
good. Space Wolves. Chris didn't seem particularly excited, so I'm going to assume that they're still
Yeah,
pretty average.
we are not
Top of the card
entirely
there.
sure. Yeah, let's put them in C tier.
So, is there any adjustments you would like to do, Vic, as we close down?
As I look at it, I'm pretty happy with where that tier list has ended up.
You like that?
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, that seems about right. Sister's still on the bottom there.
Sisters, I think they should be on the bottom. They're about the same power level as Grey Knights and T-Suns, so
Yeah, it's always very easy, and I hate doing this, clumping a lot of things together. But obviously, our meta has become more close knit, so I'm always trying to look for things that we can like move out into different ranges here. Maybe I think it's a good place for Votan too.
I think if we get I think demons are the big unknown here. There's a
Yeah.
chance that the
Okay.
demons might be super strong here, and we just haven't
Really?
had a chance to test it. I think
Mm.
so. That on first read, I have a feeling there's a lot in there that could be quite strong.
Oof. Sounds like I
But
need to play some demons, man.
I think we both need to explore that a little bit, Dave,
Okay.
because the Shadow Legion detachment is really calling out to me. To be
Oh yeah.
honest,
Oh, are you serious?
it's seriously calling
Bro,
out to me.
you're so full of shit. You were just talking about your looters and everything like
Yeah,
that.
I have the looters just in case, just in case it all goes wrong. Got my 30 looters ready to go. A little bit of green dry brush, job done.
Oh.
Bang. But I think, okay, let's exclude the Chaos Demons for a second. I think everything else, except Yanari. Yanari, I think, is going to go outside the 55%.
Okay.
But not because I necessarily think it's more powerful. I just think statistically it's going to be above the 55%. But I think everything competes against everything quite nicely in that section outside of Orcs.
I'm completely biased. I think the guard win rate will not be higher than. I definitely don't think the guard win rate will be higher than demons, for example.
Yeah, I think the guard win rate will be like the Votan win rate, to be honest.
50. I think honestly, Mick, like Hammer will just be a straight 51, 52% win rate army.
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah,
see, CSM is probably going to be a sub 50% win rate. So is
true.
Votan, and I'm
Yep,
pretty sure Guard are as well.
yep,
I think there's a chance that Emperor's Children end up as a sub 50 win rate as well.
sure.
But yeah,
Any dark horses?
anything that could come up. Uh, I think the Shadow Legion, that's going to be
The
my
Shadow Legion.
pick
Cool.
for something that could jump up even higher.
Nice, cool.
What
Everyone
about
loves
you,
demons as
Dave?
well. I think that's a good pick, actually. I think that's a good pick. I could see though. I mean, Imperial Knights is a good dark horse to bid on here, given that it's
Hmm.
so low at the moment. I think so. In the
You,
bottom half of factions, I think it's a good dark horse to bid on
you
personally.
were very hot on the Custodies as well.
Yeah, I think Custodes. It's a yeah, I'm going for the bulk, the 3-2 player. And
Beautiful.
that's what's gonna bring the
60%.
that's
Oh,
what's gonna bring the win rate up, mate. So I think there's a potential to reach a threshold of 3-2 win rate there. So there we go.
fantastic.
But that's been the thing. Gone through all the changes. Would you? Are you going to give this balanced data slate a pass or a fail?
I'm going to give
All
it
things considered.
a small. No, I'm going to give it a small fail here
Okay.
because I'm still unhappy that there isn't enough creativity to really balance things in a more interesting way here on especially on some of the weaker factions. I think if we were doing a what's gone up and what's gone down.
Hey, mate, that's my hymn book. What? Come on.
Oh, if we were doing a what's gone up and what's gone down, I really feel like nothing's changed here.
Okay. Yeah. Fair.
Probably our tier list looks almost identical to what it would have been
Mate, I
in
think
three
this might
months
be the
back.
first episode. This actually might be the first episode where Guard are not in the S tier.
Yes, let's go.
We have traversed a period of time. The great unraveling, my friends. Oh my word. Yep.
Fantastic.
I,
What
I
about
I
you?
would
Small pass fail?
small fail for me as well. I think.
Small fail.
It's I think the guard changes I think were a miss on a whole.
Mhm,
I think I just think the Eldari changes were done quite poorly, like overall. The orc changes were obviously terrible.
mhm,
And I think that for me is a little bit of a miss.
mhm,
And I think the rest of the stuff didn't really get shaken up that much,
mhm,
overall. I think the Slanesh changes were like, I don't know, like I think that's a fail as well, personally, because like they just shouldn't nerf something into oblivion, right? In this state of the game. Previously, I've said at times they should nerf things into oblivion,
mhm.
but I think we're at the point now where that's not necessarily the case that has to happen. So I think we've seen a few too many old double nerf, triple nerf bats come out this edition.
Mm,
So this balance update. So that's it for me.
yep.
But we'll have to see.
I
Go and please buy orcs, destroy people with them, and
that's
then
it.
go to the Facebook community page and complain about them.
We all love orcs. Goblin
Yeah,
green for
yeah.
days.
How good would it be if I just bring an orc mask out right now? It's like
Wow.
we're orcs now, mate. You can paint them in Castellan green, right? That works good.
Anything. Just chuck some grass on. It'll be fine.
There we go. There we go, everyone. This might be one of the longest ones I've done. So
Mhm.
really fun to do the tier list.
All right.
Let us know what you think down below. I think there's a couple of arguments for like Death Guard Tyranids being a bit higher. Let us know what you
Mhm.
think. Is Deathwatch great? You got a sick idea about demons or something like that? If you've gotten this far, really appreciate you listening. There we go. Any closing thoughts, Vic?
No, that's it. Just if anyone's interested in more discussion on any of the factions, our Discord is pretty damn awesome now.
Down.
So make sure to join at the Phoenix Lord level. And if you want the individual content, kind of the more deep dives into our armies, then any level of membership will give you access to that on our YouTube member side.
Exactly. There we go. Have a
Amazing.
good night, everyone. Good morning.
See
Good
you next
evening,
time by
wherever.
the fireside.